Hello again, hope everyone's doing well. Today I just wanted to give a bit of an update on how I see the market tracking at the moment. I haven't made a video for the past 6 months, so I can't talk about everything that happened in between then, but I want to focus on a couple things. Number one, inflation. It's probably something you've heard a lot over the past 6 to 12 months, and I just want to talk about it in connection with footy cards and some parallels I've drawn between the two markets. And also I just want to give an update as we stand in footy cards with the new Brilliance release and the other releases coming this year. So I'll get straight into it now. Okay, so I haven't got a whiteboard at the moment, so I'm going to have to work with the cardboard. But something I definitely want to talk about is what correlation is there from the wider market to footy cards. And I think there's a huge correlation. I love analysing the two together and see what's similar and what's not similar. And I think one thing footy cards is a great example of is inflation. So I'm going to give a bit of an example here to try and explain inflation and what's been happening recently. So in this example, you got a box of footy cards. Say the shelf price is $200 for the box of footy cards. And say this is March 2020, footy cards are pretty stable. And I've just really simplified the numbers here to make an easier example. But you've got one card numbered under 100. So say it's a card number out of 60 or something. And to simplify, you've got it being worth $200 at this point, which is also equal to the box price. So say it's March 2020 and Select go, look, it's not looking that good financially, or the virus is breaking out. It's a scary time. We want to stabilize the market and make sure there's still a bit of growth. So what they might do is say, look, we got to add some more value. So say they add, instead of one of these cards, the next release, they do two. So there's two of these cards, and because there's two, it's less special. But say they're now worth $150 each. So then the market price of the box, instead of $200, say the retail is still $200, but the value is actually $300 now. So they've added money into the market. But you'll see that the underlying value of the card has actually gone down. So say they want to keep this growth going and they see that lots of people are buying this because they can make this free, easy $100 on buying the box. And people are loving it, so they say, why not just do it again? So next release they do 3 times these cards and say they're worth $120 at this point. So that's $360 then. So you see this number keeps going up, the value of the box. And in this analogy, this is like the stock market or something, and this is cash. So you can see that Select has stimulated growth. So it started off at $200 a box, and now it's $360 a box. But by stimulating the growth here, they've devalued the underlying asset, like the specific card, whether it be a card under 60 or the US dollar or the Australian dollar, that's being devalued to boost the overall market. This is extremely similar to what the government did during COVID. They gave out a lot of free or easy money with lower interest rates, grants, tax breaks, that kind of thing. And you might say, well, look, I'm making all this extra money. What's the problem with it? The big issue with inflation is that, well, number one, things get more expensive. So instead of paying $200, you're now paying $360. And you see this in footy cards, people are really annoyed. Oh, I used to get these boxes for $250 and now they cost $800. It prices people out of the market. Yeah, it's just not always good to have things more expensive because less people can afford them and people don't enjoy that. So that's number one, is price. And comparing that to just general life, that's stuff like fuel price, housing prices, used car prices went crazy during this time as well. And the second issue, which I think is actually not really talked about, but in my eyes it's probably even more important, is wealth destruction. So I'm just going to put WD for wealth destruction. And what do I mean here? So in this example, say you've got $10,000 worth of these cards, and at the time release, the first release, they're worth $200 each. So what does that mean? You've got 50 of these cards. So say you're sitting on them, and while these other releases are coming out, so by the time this one comes out, you've still got those 50 cards, but it's now 50 times 120, and it's now, your 50 cards are now worth 6,000 instead of 10,000. And that's because there's been an overprinting. Now, inflation isn't that bad. That's like a 40% drop. Inflation in the US hit a high of 9%. So say you've got $10,000 in the bank in cash. That means a year later, you've got the equivalent of $9,000. So if you're not putting your money to work, if you're not investing it, then it destroys your wealth. And that's a big issue with inflation, because lots of people can't afford to put it in housing or the stock market, things that generally go up with inflation. They have to keep it in cash to live life. So yeah, it's a very big issue, which leads to a lot of unhappy people. And this has definitely happened. I see exactly this happening in footy cards, where people are getting very disheartened because they're seeing in front of their eyes their cards that they once thought were very special or sought after, say a green parallel from Footy Stars. When they first came out, everyone wanted them, everyone was going crazy for them because they were really low numbered colored parallel, was a new thing. But now it's had 3 reprints. It's really died off, and those prices have plummeted quite a bit, which is sad because lots of people have lost lots of value in their collection. So that's my footy card / inflation analogy. And what's the government doing to combat this right now? Well, they're increasing interest rates, which disincentivizes this kind of boom mentality. It incentivizes you to keep your money in the bank and not invest it because prices are generally going down due to the cost of borrowing being higher. And what would be an example of Select doing this? Well, in the future, Select could put out a press release saying we're only going to be putting out cards numbered 100 or higher for the next year. I mean, they're not going to do that now. It would cause a real uproar, but that would really serve to stabilize the prices and actually lift the prices on those lower numbered cards, because they've become more rare into the future. So that's the first part of the video about inflation. Obviously, we went through a pretty crazy few years of asset prices just going nuts, including in the footy card industry. So now is a real stabilization period where, yes, some things have gone down. Yes, some people have lost on their collections, but it's a necessary evil, unfortunately, that you have to bring stuff down to earth. They can't just boom, boom, boom forever. And actually at the moment, things are seeming to go a bit better all of a sudden in the wider economy, with the stock market crawling upwards all of a sudden, inflation slightly slowing. So there's positive signs. I don't think it's over yet. There's going to be still a bit of pain to come, and even if that means going sideways for a long time, and people are just so used to things booming in price that some people won't be happy with this. But it really is just a natural cycle, and you kind of have to take the good with the bad, the ups and downs, and it's all part of the journey, and that's what makes it fun for me. If everything just always went up, then it wouldn't be super fun. But in saying that, like I said, there's been signs of a bit of a recovery. And with footy cards, I think Brilliance has been a very good choice to bring it out before the main set. And by main set, I mean something like Optimum, the core set of that year. Because with Footy Stars and Footy Stars Prestige, the collector's fatigue or the investor's fatigue was really showing. There was a lot of cards in the market, and there still is with Brilliance, but it's because it's a limited release. It has reignited some pace in the market, I think, and it's given people some easy money, which, like I said, isn't always good, because when there's easy money, there also has to be some downward part in the future. But giving people, say, retail is $150 a box and they're selling it for $450, people are going to take that $300 and put it back into their market. So it's serving to stabilize a few of the other cards. And I think the hype in the market is still there. I'm feeling very bullish for the rest of the year. Actually, I think this next release, the standard release of the year, is going to be amazing. We've got some great players, young players in the league who are going to get their first cards. So I'm very excited for that. So if my first video back, I might just keep it a bit shorter and leave it there, but it's good to be back, and I hope to be making more videos in the future. See you soon.